Next year, Toyota will be 12th team on the Formula One grid, but preparations are already well underway. A feeling of déjà vu as the British trials ace Dougie Lampkin arrives in Italy. And can the final result already be written? Middle Eastern Rally Championship kicks sand in your eyes as it reaches round 2 in Qatar. Two down, 15 to go. But is the trend already set as the 01 F1 Championship continues? Toyota's departure from the World Rally Championship was the precursor to a full-on Formula One campaign, which has already cost the Japanese carmaker the initial $40 million bond up front, plus a small $12 million fine for not being ready on time.
So that's at least $60 million in the hole already, but the team is still happy as they sign Mika Salo and Alec McNeish as their test drivers. The F1 facility is located in Europe, but not in the Formula One heartland of Oxfordshire. Instead, Toyota has chosen to continue with its existing European base at Cologne, from where Ove Anderson masterminded the World Rally Championship campaigns and now controls the establishment of the F1 team. Toyota loyalty towards Anderson and Cologne is understandable, but has to be questionable, despite the success of Jean Todt at Ferrari. Cesare Fiorio didn't succeed when he came from rallying to F1. Dave Richards wasn't at Benetton long enough to tell, and none of the three had the task of creating a new team from scratch, as in this case.
It's a choice by one of the three biggest manufacturers in the world, not only to come into Formula One, but to do so in the most courageous way, where there's they do the team, they do the engine, they do the chassis. They don't go and buy anything in. They just hire some of the people using their own team, their own existing facilities that they've had for many years for rallies and GT racing. And it's a courageous decision, and you know that a decision of that magnitude isn't taken by the board of a company like that without very careful investigation and thought, which really means it's an enormous endorsement for Formula One. If Formula One was not very successful, very important, and a great marketing tool, they would never have done it.
Let's remember that marketing is what drives manufacturer involvement in motorsport. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday is how it goes, and it hasn't changed in 100 years. Toyota saw the opportunities and the benefits in rallying with identifiable showroom shapes, and now they're pursuing the benefits of involvement and success in high-technology environments.
We already have, obviously, Ferrari in Italy, which is a major motorsport centre. We've got two, I wouldn't say minor, but lesser facilities in Switzerland with Sauber and France with Prost. It's now very good that we have a major centre in Germany, but with the resources behind it to make it work. And I don't think anyone at Toyota underestimates the magnitude of the challenge, but I think it will take time, but it will have a big effect on the whole structure of Formula One.
It's clear that Toyota has the muscle and the budget for the task, and the expertise is largely in place as well. This is a company that's been in motorsport for a very long time already and knows what it's like to compete at the top, just not at the top of Formula One.
I've driven the best car last year, and I'm still driving a good car again, and I know all the circuits, I know how the cars should be, and I know how the car should not be. And all this, I think it's something which you can't buy with the money. It just comes with experience. So I give them everything what I know as soon as I get started here.
Buying that kind of knowledge and experience is essential, and there's no doubt that Salo's input will be vital. So too that of the team's other full-time test driver, Alan McNeish, a star of the sports car world, whose personal achievements have so far stopped short of the F1 success he seems to deserve.
To be involved in a project with Toyota is one thing that's it's very special for a driver, but also to be involved right from the beginning of the project is something else. It's nice that everybody has got the same feeling, the same desire, the same intentions ultimately to try and win. And I think that we have the capability, the base, and the personnel to do that. It's going to be a long, hard road ahead, but we have got the fight inside our hearts.
Without even a recent mule car on which to test their ideas, the way BAR did with Tyrrell, Toyota has been confined to the realm of theory and simulation, which can certainly achieve a great deal, but not enough. The team has also been able to use its most recent sports car as a test bed. The Le Mans car, in any case, was regarded as little more than a thinly disguised Formula One car and can at least give the technicians some solid groundings on which to do the sums and base the development work.
Even although it's not a Formula One car, the GT1 we raced very successfully at Le Mans in 1999 is a very, very competitive car. It has got the technology of modern Formula One cars, but also it's a very good test bed. It's a bench that we can drive around the circuit and gain information. And so we've now got some information on tyres, on brakes, on differentials and gears, on hydraulics, many, many other things. And so it gives us experience.
The launch of a new team in Formula One is a big affair, especially when it's ground-up built, with nothing but a clean sheet of paper as the starting point for factory and car. And furthermore, this press gathering heralds the arrival of another major manufacturer into the arena alongside Ferrari, Mercedes, Ford, Renault and BMW, and is exactly what Formula One needs, another committed partner with a vested interest in the success of the sport.
It's a very rare event that a major manufacturer comes into Formula One with its own team and engine, and probably still rarer that it founds a team, makes the buildings, does everything all at one time.
It's certainly a tall order to build your own competitive car, as others have found. It takes time and commitment. This week, they launched the car, and we'll have a full report on that next week. The hectic schedule of trials events continues, with the world's best having already covered England, Dubai and Germany. The World Indoor Trials Championship now arrives in Torino, Italy for the 4th round, and Dougie Lampkin already well on his way to another championship after winning the last 3 rounds. Will it be 4 wins in a row here today?
Lampkin topped the heats, and it was bad news, though, for Mark Colomé, who failed to make it through to the final. Mark Fresher did make it through, though, and so too did Albert Cabestany, who took on Section 1 only to fall and fail it. Albert Cabestany arrives on Section 2, having had already gained 5 points for failing that Section 1, and he can't afford to lose any more points if he's going to challenge Mark Fresher for the 2nd spot. Fresher went the same way on Section 1 as Cabestany, a full 5, and got through Section 2 with 2 points and 1 time penalty, totaling him with 8. Fresher and Cabestany knew that they were fighting it out for 2nd place. Taking the win with Lampkin in full flow would never be an option. But 5 more points for Cabestany, and Fresher had the advantage. The 2 young Spanish riders had ridden well to make it into the final, but Dougie Lampkin yet again was in a different league. The opening section was just a walk in the park, and Section 2 was not to be of concern either, nor would the following sections, and his score of 2 was provided by 2 time penalties, but then he could well afford those. It was just a matter now of going through the motions and waiting for the fanfare that would herald the presentation of yet another trophy.
The world of great beats.
Fresher and Cabestany both failed on the final section, so it made Dougie's ascent look even more impressive. Fresher dropped 2 points less than Kabastani and therefore second place. Lamkin did drop 3 more points on the high jump section, but again it was of no real concern except pride. The race provided another win and it was all over.
So, 4 in a row it is now for Dougie Lamkin. Predictable to say the least, but worthy. Credit due too to Mark Fresher and Albert Kabastani, who did well and deserved to be in the spotlight of the final. No doubt at all who's leading the championship then, with Dynamo Dougie ahead with 80 points. Mark Fresher still hangs on in there in second and is just ahead of Kabastani, who pulls away from Mark Colomay, now in 4th place. Dougie then well and truly on his way to another World Championship. There is another 7 rounds to go, but he could soon have it settled well before the last round. The sand had only just settled around Abu Dhabi when the Middle East Rally Championship arrived in Qatar for round 2.
Unsurprisingly, the favourite is down to the fact that he's sitting in a full-spec Focus World Rally car and no one else really has anything to match it. Second seed is Andreas Soloftas with a Lancer Evo 6, a top piece of kit, but probably not top enough. 2 days and 15 hot and dusty stages through the Qatar desert, and things got off to a good start for bin Sulayem, quickly building up a good lead. And that lead was over local ace Hamad Al-Sawadi and his Irish co-driver Michael Morrissey in one of the many Lancer Evo 6s. Chasing hard for that second place was Abdullah Al-Qasimi in another Lancer, but this time an Evo 5. Continuing the procession of Mitzi Lancers was Nizar Al-Shanfari. By the time they reached the mid-morning service stop, bin Sulayem was having problems with the Focus misfiring and down on power as well as a faulty diff sensor. But back out again for the next 3 stages and confident that he had enough time in hand. Time had stopped though for Australian Ron Kremen hitting a rock and destroying the front suspension and being a spectator from now on. And there were plenty of them braving a sand lashing from the passing cars. Despite his problems with the Focus, bin Sulayem was still the leader and still on the pace, and it's ironic that the best bit of service on a stage that they will meet is passed over completely in a spectacular airborne-like fashion. Leading by 2 minutes at the end of day 1, his problems were in the past on day 2 as he continued to pull out the lead, never really fearing a challenge from anyone. Abdullah Al-Qasimi battled all day with Sawadi for second place until Sawadi hit a rock and retired, and that left Al-Qasim in the place. Andreas Soloftas had a drive shaft failure and 2 punctures on day 1 to overnight in 6th place, but day 2 he was well and truly on a charge. At the completion of the 15 hot and hard stages, bin Sulayem had pulled out another 3 minutes on his lead to make it just under 5.
2 rounds down and 2 wins in the bag for Mohammed bin Sulayem, and comfortably as well from Abdullah Al-Qasimi. 3rd place for Soloftas was all that he could manage, but that was indeed a good recovery. So full points once again gives bin Sulayem a leading total of 20, and that's 10 points ahead of Soloftas and Qasimi, who are now tied for 2nd place on 10 points each. Next up, it's round 3 in Bahrain, and bin Sulayem will be out there consolidating his lead. Michael Schumacher has now won 6 races from 6 pole positions in a row, and that's another milestone in an already impressive career. The Malaysian Grand Prix was one of those incredible races where it was difficult to keep up with all that was going on. When the rain came down and both Ferraris were queued up in the pit lane, it looked like the long pit stop would put victory out of reach.
Pit stops are very complex affairs. So many people are involved in such a short period of time, yet it can be the difference between winning and coming second. They are rehearsed and practiced to perfection. McLaren did get a third place, but they'll regard Sepang as a bit of a setback rather than a failure. The driver pairing of Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard had been together since 1996, when Coulthard joined the team from Williams. That was the first year of the partnership with Mercedes. Häkkinen joined the team 3 years prior to that in 1993, when Ford and then Peugeot provided the power. The McLaren-Mercedes partnership took 2 years to get up to speed, and at the 1997 Australian Grand Prix, and after 50 races without a win, David Coulthard clinched the season opener in 1997. Two more race victories followed that year, but it was in 1998 that they swept the board with 9 wins, and Mika won the championship. 7 wins and another championship followed in 99, but 7 wins in 2000 was just not enough to retain it for a third time. Race technology and engineering has changed what would be far beyond the belief of the early designers. The quest for speed and yet safety has taken on a new dimension every year that the cars line up on the grid. The barriers and limits are constantly being pushed back as every facet of the car is changed and upgraded. McLaren have always been good at this, and Mercedes have an impressive history also. Their first Grand Prix was at France in 1953. They've been involved in some aspect of motorsport ever since and have forged a strong link with McLaren. The 2001 season may not have started well for them, but what was said about Ferrari a few seasons ago now applies to them. Just never rule them out. Jordan need a good year, not only for achievement, but importantly for their chances of retaining the works Honda engine. Fourth in Malaysia for Frentzen puts them third in the Constructors' Championship so far this year. Ralf Schumacher showed the awesome power of the BMW engine, and the ability of a Williams chassis was now coming together. They have already closed the gap, and there's still much more to come. The most surprising performance came from Arrows. Jos Verstappen put in an impressive drive and showed that the pre-race optimism of the team was well-founded.
The first impression is good, and I think when we can sort the handling out a little bit better, I think we will be good.
Michael is already amassing the points in the Drivers' Championship with a 10-point lead over Coulthard and Barrichello, who are tied for second place. So the red car has it at the moment. But will it be the silver one that catches up with it, or could it just be a blue and white or even yellow one?